Hey guys, Jakob here, and today I have a special guest, Phil Layer, who is with me. Um, yeah, Phil, say hi.
Hi, Jacob. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so Phil is our new partner and a client at the same time. And we are working on very interesting automations in the Amazon space, especially in vendor for vendor accounts. And yeah, this is like a podcast, video, whatever you call it, where we'll be going through topics connected to the vendor accounts, Amazon, and automations. Basically, yeah, I think that this will really cover both of our companies. So, Phil, maybe you can do a short intro of what you are doing.
Sure. So, my name's Phil, and I have a consulting agency that is focused on the touchpoint Amazon. So, we are taking care of the touchpoint Amazon for brands like small to medium and even big international brands that are working as a vendor with Amazon. So we are focused on companies that work as a vendor. So there's a difference to being a seller, which we will probably address later on. But
Yes.
this is what I am doing with my team. We are basically helping brands being successful on the touchpoint Amazon.
Yes. So basically, imagine you are a brand. You're, let's say, you're selling maybe furniture. Furnitures is not the good case for Amazon, but let's say you sell, I don't know, some kind of headphones. Let's say headphones.
Yeah.
You have your own e-commerce store. You may be selling some local stores as well. And I believe your company helps sell on Amazon, but in the vendor model account, which is different than seller. And I think we'll also talk about it in a moment. But this is basically very briefly what you are doing, right?
Yeah, exactly. But usually the target client, or let's say the brands that are looking to work with us, let's put it that way, they
Hmm.
usually are not someone that has much experience with an online shop or is very successful with having an online shop. It's
Hmm.
usually more brands that are focused on brick and mortar stores that do have experience with selling into physical stores. They
Hmm.
do know their processes when it comes to that, but they're not that experienced when it comes to selling online, and especially not selling through something like marketplaces, or even not that much experience selling to online shops that are customers of them.
Hmm. I got it. Yes, but as far as I know, when it comes to being a vendor, you need to be invited to the program, right, from Amazon. So the brand itself needs to be like, what are the criterias to be invited to sell on Amazon, right, as a vendor, and why actually would they go for vendor account instead of trying first as a seller? Like, are you also helping to start as a seller?
Yes, that's a big one, and I
Hmm.
think we have to slice this one in certain parts. So first of all, um, Amazon is trying to work with brand owners only when it comes to the vendor model. So no dealers, no drop shipping companies or stuff like that, or distributors, or companies that do not own the brand. They just do, for example, arbitrage. They
Hmm.
Amazon is trying to close those relationships that they had, which they basically grew on, like in the first
Yes.
couple of years when Amazon was still a small online shop. None of the big brands, or none of the brands, wanted to work with them, so they had to go through those distributors. But nowadays, they are looking for brand owners only, and usually you could say, if your brand is doing around 1 million in e-commerce sales, or around 250,000 on the marketplace, then you would be eligible for being invited for the vendor program. Because, as you said, right, you need to be invited. You cannot simply register for the vendor program.
Hmm. Hmm. That's really interesting, and but the question is also, um, if they decide to sell on marketplace, should they first start as a seller before they would consider being a vendor, or should they start right away if they got an invitation? Should they start right away as a vendor, or just to learn maybe sell on Amazon? Would they go first to as a seller? I really
Well,
wonder.
unfortunately, I have to give you the classic consulting answer. It depends.
Okay.
It really depends on your situation that you're in as a company and how strong your capabilities are when it comes to managing a channel like Amazon yourself. If that is one of your core strengths in your company, then I would be suggesting doing this. But let's say you are a company that is not very successful with their own online shop. Let's assume you don't have anyone in your company that has much experience with managing some kind of e-commerce channel and not even experience maybe managing some kind of online shop customers like e-commerce customers. Then I would usually have the tendency to say, okay, you guys, you should work with the vendor model because this is the closest you can get to the
Mm-hmm.
processes that you already know in your
Mm-hmm.
daily business.
Okay.
And if it's a brand that has experience with their own online shop, they have some kind of capabilities regarding managing e commerce channels in their workforce, then I would at least consider going through the marketplace because it definitely has advantages and it definitely has its disadvantages. And I would say you need to look at it case by case because every company is different, every brand is different, and every product assortment is different, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore you need to look at the individual case of that you are having at hand.
Definitely, definitely. We'll go deeper into differences between a seller and a vendor. But before that, you mentioned that that's very actually interesting because we have one client who is doing arbitrage selling, and you mentioned that right now Amazon is trying to convince convince more brand to start selling on Amazon as a vendor itself. So there's like a direct connection between those two instead of having this middleman in the middle, right? Like a middleman in the middle. Just
Yeah.
someone who'd sell those items. Could you tell more about these trends? I'm asking specifically because we recently launched this new product, like a software for client who is a seven-figure seller from
Mhm.
states, buying from local shops and selling those items on Amazon. And he is selling maybe not hundred, but like thousands of different items. And yeah, the software itself is really calculating the most profitable items and
Yeah.
then basically rebuying them automatically from those local stores.
Well, the way you describe that kind of solution, that sounds very interesting, and I'd love to know more about it. But I think that's a topic for another session. But nevertheless, it sounds very impressive what you're doing. Um, so now let's take this case.
Hmm.
Like imagine the kind of brands and the kind of products that the seller is buying in local stores. This probably would not be possible if that brand would be working directly with Amazon. Like
Yeah,
if they would have a vendor relationship and if they would take control of their brand on Amazon, then this arbitrage seller would probably have very low or very few room to maneuver, very slim chances of making some profit
exactly.
on these items. But as long as this brand does not manage their e-commerce channels, as Amazon is usually the biggest one, therefore, sellers like this will always have the opportunity to do so. But as you also said, and this is the second part of the answer for your question, is this is a seller and this is not a vendor who's doing arbitrage. If I understood you correctly, because
Yes.
otherwise it would be against the strategy that I have seen in the last couple of
No,
years.
no. This is a seller. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
I was just wondering, basically. But yeah, like you're completely right. If you are a vendor, you have the best because I also heard on one I think I watched a video about vendors. And I heard that you can negotiate prices with Amazon itself, right, as a vendor. So therefore, yeah, of course, if you are selling as a vendor directly to Amazon, you have the best deals, and being a middleman wouldn't be possible. So I can see that. But let's talk more about those differences because I'm really curious. So if you could tell more about like a core differences, I feel like we already started talking about it that you sell directly to
Yeah.
Amazon, but if you could just elaborate on that.
Sure. Let's address the one thing that you already mentioned, prices. This is probably one of the biggest differences that you will see when it comes to vendor or seller. When you are a vendor, Amazon is your customer. Amazon has a price list for all of your items that you want to sell. So a fixed price, and then Amazon adds their margin, and Amazon is the one setting the selling price. And this is a huge difference to the seller model, because you as a seller, you decide what you sell your item for to the customer. If you're a vendor, Amazon decides what price they are selling for to the customer. And the one basically sending the invoice is, in case of the vendor, it's Amazon itself. It's Amazon Germany, it's Amazon Italy, it's Amazon US. And in case of the seller, it's you. You, the seller, are sending out the invoice. At least your name of the company is on the invoice. Sometimes Amazon is doing the work for you of sending and creating the PDF. Okay,
Hmm.
but it's your name on it, and that's one of the biggest differences. And that's one of the key factors that some brands don't want to get on Amazon Marketplace as a seller, because they would end up competing with their own customers when it comes to selling on the platform, because you would be in a direct competition for the buy box with the client that is
Yeah.
also buying from you. So, in a sales and distribution strategy, this is not always, or usually, in the majority of the cases, this is not wanted by the brand owner. Because
Hmm.
imagine that kind of negotiation, or that kind of meeting, annual meeting that you have with that with your customer or your client, and he's asking you, "Hey, man, what's going on? You're also selling on Amazon, and you're cutting my prices. What the hell are you doing?" Like, this would be a tough one, especially
Totally.
most of the brands have relationships to those kind of clients that are 10, 20, 30 years long. And you
Hmm.
want to jeopardize that? I doubt it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But when you sell actually as a vendor, is there still a buy box then? Like, do you
Sure.
compete with whom do you compete if you are okay, so as a vendor, Amazon sells you items, but then do you compete with the same items who are sold by the sellers, or like how does it work? I really wonder.
Oh, now we're getting into the trenches of the details, but this is the good stuff. Like, this is a really good
Yeah,
question,
because
I have
I've
to say.
never really thought about it. Like before we've met you, I didn't really know much about vendor program. And in
Yeah.
Poland, for example, I mean, Amazon itself is super small, but the vendor program I think exists for like 1 year or something like this. So it's extremely new. And as I said, I didn't know about that. And now when you actually um, describe this, explain this to us, is just crazy for me, and I really want to visualize it. Like I've did many different scraping and monitoring solutions for our clients, and I've been just always blindly gathering all of those prices and never really thought about it. And I saw many items basically that are Amazon items. And I
Hmm.
was really reading many different papers about how Amazon is winning the buy box. That it's not really fair that
Yeah.
Amazon can within 1 day get you out of the business. But I think that Amazon brands. This is also like something different than vendors now, because I've seen those cases where there's a very successful product, and then 1 day, Amazon creates its own brand and gets you out of the business. But this is not vendor, right? This is different.
Well, we have to separate this one also
Yeah.
in different parts. Let's start with the one. who's winning the buy box when it comes to vendor seller. So actually, a seller is always competing with Amazon for the buy box when they are both selling the same product. Okay.
Yes.
Um, and this is easy to see. Like if you are on an Amazon product detail page on the right hand side, below the buy box, below the add to cart button, you usually see a sentence that says like um, 14 new offers starting from, let's say, 29.99. Like if you click on this, you see the list of all the sellers that are selling that product. And sometimes Amazon is also in that list
Yeah.
in case they are not winning the buy box. And the one winning the buy box is defined through different factors, but it's mostly two things. First of all, price. Like you have to have a competitive price, and this is where it gets a bit unfair when it comes to Amazon, because Amazon can be more expensive than you as a seller and still win the buy box. So price is the first factor. Second factor is definitely by delivery time. How fast are you able to deliver? So even if you're 30% below Amazon's price, but it takes you 2 weeks to deliver the product, you're not going to win the buy box. And then there are more smaller factors, but one of the key factors is also when you are a seller, your rating also
Yeah.
influences if you're winning the buy box. So you should. That's one of the reasons why you should keep a good rating as a seller when you're not only selling your own products. So, and there's even more factors going into this, but I think these are the biggest ones, the key factors when it comes to winning the buy box. And um, that's why it's important, and this goes to back to distribution and pricing strategy as a brand owner. Like if you give Amazon high prices, like when you're saying, okay, man, they want to work with us, okay, but let's screw them. Okay, we'll screw them, we'll give them really really high prices, so if they're selling, we're making a good business. But then you're not selling on Amazon because Amazon is not
Yeah.
able to win the buy box versus sellers that have better prices with the brand owner. And this is the way of making sure. And here comes one of the Amazon visions into consideration, that they have the customer focus. The customer experience needs to be positive and good. And it would not be positive if Amazon itself would not be in the competition for attractive pricing. Like that's one of the key factors here. So Amazon wants to provide a good customer experience by also offering competitive prices when it comes to the products
Yeah.
they are selling. So therefore, they made themselves compete with the sellers in order to make sure they have competitive pricing.
Mm-hmm. No,
Um,
that's really interesting here, especially that you mentioned about this strategy that if you put too high price on Amazon, Amazon itself cannot sell the items because it won't be profitable for Amazon itself,
yeah,
right? So that's really like you have to really switch thinking if you are a vendor than a seller when it comes to selling. That's yeah, really really interesting. So I believe now actually the question here because this I don't know like as I said, we are building many different solutions, and one of them is actually custom reprices. We've built a
hmm,
repricer for a seller. Actually, we've been monitoring many different buy boxes, and then at the same time, we created like a buy box to it. So depending on the competition and the different factors that you just mentioned, the item repriced itself to win the buy box. Basically, that was the
hmm,
purpose of the. I mean, I feel like this is the purpose of every repricer, like to win the buy box, right?
sure.
But if you are a vendor, how does it work when it comes to signing a contract for a certain item? Do you still can reprice the items, or you just put the fixed price for a contract or whatever you call it, right? And then the Amazon itself is changing the prices. How does it work?
Um, Maybe one remark on the repricing topic. I think there are reprices out there that have different strategies than just winning the buy box. Sometimes it's optimizing your margin, especially when you're running on low stock, something like that. So they would be rising
Hmm.
with prices. Sometimes you really don't want to sell because you're running really low on stock, for example. Um, or you want to make the market, some stuff like that. But that's just a remark.
Hmm.
When it comes to pricing in the vendor model, it's like that you usually have an annual negotiation with Amazon. Like you usually meet once a year. You make a business review. You look how your margin is. So Amazon tells you on a sin basis what they are having as a profitability, how much money they're making with each of your products. And if you're below a certain threshold, they're asking you for better prices. Like
Okay.
they
Yeah.
would even suggest what kind of price they need, and usually it's lower than you feel comfortable with, much lower as a brand. And then you go into some kind of negotiation, or at least it was before COVID hit. Like you actually met in person. Like I've been to Munich a couple of times. I've been to Paris, and I've even been to Tokyo for negotiations.
Oh wow.
And this is completely this died when COVID hit. Since then, it's a Teams meeting. Sometimes it's even just it's not even a meeting. When you are a small vendor, you open up Vendor Central. Like there's a Seller Central for vendors called Vendor Central. Ha. Um, and if you log in, you have like this notification: Hey, we need new conditions, like new terms and conditions for the upcoming year. This is what we suggest. And then you have a button, agree or decline. So that's the negotiation. But when it end in that proposal they send you, they always have on ASIN level what kind of cost prices they would like to have for that certain item. Then you can accept or not, but usually you would be able, if you are a little bit bigger, you can send a price list to them, to your vendor manager, and say, hey, that's our prices. And he will usually look for where it's increasing prices, where you're decreasing prices, and then they will evaluate how it's impacting their business, and based on that they will decide if they would accept it or not. And they usually
Okay.
don't, because you raise prices.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's understandable. But
But
this,
maybe
yes.
one more addition. If you are actually decreasing prices, you would have the option to upload a new price list every single day, and Amazon would tell you in a time of 30 days if they accept it or not. And from my experience, if you decrease the price, it is accepted right away, like the same day. If you upload a price list with increased prices, it takes 30 days for it to be declined. Like that's the way it goes.
No, that's really interested. That's really interested. But let's talk about the once we are in the prices. Let's talk about still the other way around it, which is advertisement here. Like same story. We talked about buy box. How does it work for both sides? We talked about prices. Now I'm really curious about advertisement. Again, when you're a seller, it's easy. You just put your ads. And yeah, people bet on them, and so on. How does it work with a vendor when Amazon sells your items? Like, do you still pay for your ads, or Amazon is handling this? Like, how does it work?
Well, it's basically nowadays it's exactly the same.
Hmm.
And since Amazon has learned that they can make good money with PPC and advertising in general, of course they let you pay for it. Yeah, so they're not paying for anything. Um, so it's purely your investment, and they even went so far that they said, "Hey, so you want to invest 1 million into advertising next year? I'm really sorry, I can't take that in consideration when it comes to our annual negotiations, because it's a different business unit, and I'm from my targets, from my personal targets as a vendor manager, I do not reach my targets if I somehow take that into consideration." But at the
Wow.
end of the day, we both know it's the same freaking company, so
Yes, yes.
there's a lot of bullshitting going on
Oh,
there, to be
you
honest.
mentioned really interesting part here, because from our side, when it comes to programming world, we had a very similar case with one department which is like responsible for ASP API. I've met with them recently. We've been talking about some improvements for ASP API, and then at some point I mentioned, hey, what about the advertisement API? Because it seems like it's like completely different API,
Are you
completely
talking
different
about Amazon
documentation.
directly, direct contact to Amazon right now?
Exactly,
Ah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah, okay.
And I just mentioned, hey, why is it like different? Can I talk to someone from advertisement API team? And they said, sorry, it's like completely different team. We don't know each other. And now you just mentioned about the vendor manager, and also taking under consideration that you spend so much money on ad spend, right? That those are like completely two separate sectors in Amazon. But on the other hand, it's just one Amazon. So it's really weird, but
You
yeah.
want to know the best part about it, how it went down. So I was back then I was not running my own company. I was working for Bosch, Bosch Power Tools. Bosch, one of the biggest, I think it's the biggest privately held company in the world.
Hmm.
They have a very successful power tool business, and I was responsible for the Amazon account in Europe. And that was the time when they started to introduce advertising, PPC advertising on Amazon. And man, those times were wild. Like this felt like Wild West. Like every euro you put into this channel, like you got 50 out in sales. It was crazy.
Wow.
So
So you
like
got
it,
many promotions in the company.
yes, I did. And
That's good.
back then in the first year, your vendor manager would tell you, "Hey, we have this new thing, man. We can switch all of your marketing co-op and all of your bonus and all that stuff. We can switch it. Like, just put it into advertising, and we're good." Like the negotiations that year, they went so easy. They were like, they were a blast, and I couldn't even believe it that good. But they went back then. But the next year, they really screwed you because they said, yeah, like, we can't take this in consideration anymore. Like that was only in the first year, and now I need to get that budget back. Like I need to have this on my balance sheet now. Like so, we have to introduce this bonus and this volume incentive rebate and all of this stuff that you pushed away into advertising the year before. They were trying to get it back, and yeah, that was one of the biggest bullshit moves they ever did, because in the meantime, you have learned the budget you put into advertising made crazy sales. Like it pushed your sales on a crazy level, and you would
Hmm.
never put it back. You would
Yes.
never decrease it. You would have been stupid to do so. So then you had to open your pocket again, and you're like, yeah, okay, shit, I have to do
No
this here.
wonder it's one of the most successful companies in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so they are playing its own game, and as a leader, I mean, there's huge opportunity, but there's also huge risk, right? Like especially what I hear from many sellers or even founders, like service-based companies that build businesses around Amazon, that it's a great game, but literally if they change something within one day, you can lose all of your business. So
It's a
sometimes
cutthroat
it
game.
might be
It's a
tricky.
cutthroat game, definitely. Yeah, you're right.
Same for us. If when we are running different softwares for our clients, right, they rely on the ASP API, but if one day they turned off some endpoint or change something, we really need to act fast. And that's yeah, that's really important, interesting. Like definitely we'll talk about those kind of things, like automations and next episodes. Like this is something that I really want to talk. But let me talk. Let's talk about the last thing. This is like very recent thing, and I think you have more information about that. There was some news regarding Amazon vendor program around. I saw it around LinkedIn, Twitter. That there are some changes that they are turning down. They're turning off some part of Amazon vendor program. Can you maybe describe what was it about, and if it's good or bad?
Yeah, I saw this email that got leaked. I saw it on LinkedIn, and on the same day it disappeared again. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure if it's a real thing, and it didn't
Okay.
sit right with me when I read it, because it wasn't quite the tone that Amazon is
Mm-hmm.
usually using. But
Yes.
nevertheless, let's assume it's real. um, it said that Amazon wants to will stop working. It's an email that basically said we will stop working with you from the 1st of January 2024. There was some link to Vendor Central, and at that moment I thought, this might be fake. Someone is maybe phishing here, but um, the email said that Amazon wants to focus on working with brand owners only. And I would assume that distributors or multi-level sellers that were delivering Amazon stock in the vendor model, that they are supposed to get cut out and use the seller
Yeah.
model, like what we have discussed before. And I would assume this is a good thing
Mm-hmm.
because um, it helps brands that are actually already working with Amazon to help clean their sourcing strategy. And now it's getting a bit technical here regarding the how Amazon works. So if Amazon is buying an ASIN from you, they usually have their buying system, which always tried to have multiple sources for that ASIN. Okay, so that buying system is trying to look for cheaper sources, and these cheaper sources could have been like some kind of distributor in, for example, Poland, which usually was a country where Amazon was sourcing a lot because of the currency effects. And
Mm-hmm.
some brands thought it's a good idea to sell stuff cheaper in Poland than in Germany or in France, and that gave some good sellers the opportunity to sell to Amazon and make a quick buck and make some kind of arbitrage here.
Yeah.
And I think this is what they are trying to get rid of. And therefore, it's good for a brand because the number
Yes.
of sources for your product is being reduced and the competition on the price is being reduced.
And when it comes to you, actually, do you work only with the brands directly, or do you also work with those distributors? Because I believe now that what you said, because that the distributors are kind of like a sellers on Amazon working with the brands, but being a vendor,
Yeah.
which is a really interesting concept. And do you work with some distributors or just brands?
Right now, we don't have that kind of distributor as a client, but we would definitely work with them because you must not forget that there are brands out there that don't want to work directly with a brand or a channel like Amazon. So they do rely, they in a very thought of way. Like it's a decision not to work with channels like this directly and rely on distributors that are specialized, that have the capabilities. Like imagine a very small niche brand for a certain product that does not have like a huge range, and they don't have an e-commerce manager, and they don't want to run their own seller account. Well, then this is your only solution, to
Yeah,
work with a distributor. So in
definitely.
some cases this might make sense to go
Hmm.
through someone offering a service like this. And of course, we
Hmm.
would love to work with them. But we would not work with someone who is not appointed by the brand owner to work with Amazon directly.
Hmm.
This is something
Got
that I
it.
would not support here.
Good. I really wonder again. I asked this question at the beginning, but I will go back to it. Regarding this invitation to become a vendor in Amazon, how does it work? Let's say I have, again, I'm selling headphones, and at some point I thought, all right, I would love to be a vendor on Amazon, but we both know that you need to be invited. And now there's your company, PLEC, right? I go to you and I say, hey, Phil, this is my brand. I'm selling in like I have this my own e-commerce. I'm selling in a shop. We're doing really really well, but yeah, of course, Amazon can't just know about any possible brand out there. Do you actually go to Amazon and pitch them the brand
Yeah.
to get invitation, or how does it work?
Yeah, that happened before, and we do that a lot actually.
Hmm.
That brands approach us that decide. Sometimes we help them to decide and evaluate if it makes sense to go in this channel. And to be honest, sometimes it does not make sense. It's rarely the fact, but sometimes that's the case. And then we have our contacts within Amazon. We tell them about their brand. They do the initial evaluation of the potential, and then you would provide them with some cost prices, and that's basically how you start onboarding a vendor. Like,
Okay. Okay. Another question here. If you are selling as a vendor, how does it work with putting your listings? Because recently, again, I've been in touch with many different service-based companies related to Amazon, and recently I've met this one company. I can't remember the name, but they were doing all of the creatives and regarding the items. So they were taking your items, making beautiful pictures, writing the content about it, like the description, title, and so on. So how does it work with a vendor model? Is it the same, or Amazon takes care of that?
uh, it's the same as the seller model, but harder.
Harder.
Unfortunately, and yeah, and I don't know why that the reason is. It's a pain in the butt. I can tell you, like, if this is one of the things that we spent the most time with, like
So you're
change.
also doing those things.
Sure, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like as I said before, we make sure that the brand is successful on the touchpoint Amazon, and as you know, I don't have to tell you, content is a key, still a key part of this. Advertising and content are key
Yes.
factors in visibility and conversion. So you have to pay a lot of attention to it, and sometimes it's really, really hard to update the content on Amazon because, again, it's a bit technical, but they have certain systems that keep overwriting their own systems, and then you have different rights when it comes to overwriting content and stuff like that. You know, like sometimes they don't know, they can't even explain themselves, and you just have to override it over and over again. But it works the same way. Like you have the possibility to put your own title, put your own bullet points, backend keywords, and all that stuff, images. Amazon does not do anything for you if you don't provide them any content. And I
Hmm.
would usually, I cannot recommend providing Amazon with any content because they have those content teams there in India,
Yeah.
and you provide them some kind of Excel sheet, and I mean the outcome, poof, yo, like get some money and do the investment and get someone who knows what they're doing, and the result will be much better, and the brand image
Hmm.
and the conversion and the visibility will be much
Hmm.
better than giving this to Amazon because they don't
Okay.
know what they're doing. Like seriously,
That's
they don't know.
that's really interesting point. But yeah, I can see that. I have one more question, and then I think we will be over because we are, let's say, running late on time here. Let's continue with the vendor model. I think this might be very interesting for people who are considering this right now. So numbers. How does it work with the numbers at like your service as an agency, right? Like there's a brand coming to you, telling, hey, all right, I'm doing right now. I'm doing on my shop. Let's say I'm doing 500K a month revenue on my products. I am considering vendor program with Amazon. What kind of revenue can I expect? Like, is there a range or percentage that you can promise a customer?
Well, I don't promise anything. Like I'm a businessman, and I'm trying to or keep a good reputation, and I would not promise anything. But what we are definitely capable of is building a case. Like we are also using scrapers and trying to get a picture of what the category is doing on Amazon. We're trying to get a picture of what your competition is. If your product's not at all on Amazon, we can still define what your target market is and total addressable market on Amazon. And then we make assumptions, like best guess assumptions on what your potential market share could be, how it would develop, how much investment you would have to make in terms of advertising, because we know PPC costs, we know conversion rates, we know traffic.
Yes.
So we're basically building a business case, with different cases, so you can make an informed decision as a brand owner if this is something that you would consider as attractive for your brand to get into or not. Like
So there's no boilerplate equation that you can say, all right, if you're doing 500k on this item, you can expect, let's say, a 200 additional 200k from Amazon. There's no like simple equation. It really depends on many
no.
different factors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Like the our world is way too complicated to boil it
hmm
down like this. To be honest, because you have brands that know what they're doing in their own online store. They know how D2C is working, and then there are brands that don't know. I don't want to say the word like, and
Yes, but that's really good that you're saying this, because I've recently heard some podcasts actually from different agencies that are helping brands to get on Amazon. I think in a seller model. Oh no, actually also in a vendor. And what they do is they promise some numbers. And I was actually
mm,
having this in my mind. How can you promise a number, right? I believe that they promise the numbers and they don't deliver and find
yeah,
excuses, right? Because as you said, there's so many different factors, you need so much data. And actually I'm really happy that we came to this point, because with the tool that right now we are developing, this might be really helpful to make this analysis much faster based on
mm,
all of the data from different vendor
yeah,
accounts. So from all of you who are listening here and watch this on YouTube, like we in the Phil, we are working on a very nice tool that will allow you to analyze the data from all of your accounts. And basically, yeah, I mean, we will be happy to share more in a future podcast. For now, this is like really into, I think it's not even alpha version yet. But I was just wondering that this tool actually will be really helpful when it comes to making this research.
yeah, definitely. And I need to add one thing regarding promising sales on Amazon. Um, uh, if someone is doing that, please be very cautious, because, as we said before, there are so many factors when it comes to different categories, and sometimes the competition is so fierce on Amazon, and the category is very good in selling their products. Like we have niches, like imagine, yeah, power banks, imagine some kind of water bottle, stuff like that, that is being out there on Amazon for years and years, and people are optimizing for those kind of products for many years, and they have ASINs with thousands of reviews. You will not win in categories like this. And if someone promises you sales in a category, I would consider this not good practice of business, to be honest.
hmm
It
Yeah,
really
fair
depends
point.
on the case.
Fair point. Fair point. Perfect. I think we are perfectly going into 45 minutes. So I think will be good enough for the first our first episode. There will be more to come. We'll cover many different topics, especially the one regarding automations. Like Phil has many different clients, a lot of experience, and we are brainstorming on daily basis on many different automation ideas, especially right now when we are working already on one product, but we already also worked on other one which helps on vendor account. So we'll cover more of those in new episodes. But yeah, for now I think that will be great. Phil, do you have any last words? Where can people find you? Could you share some details?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I wanted to say thank you for having me. It's really funny that we are doing a podcast, and which is ending up on YouTube, where I discovered you. So this is really
Yes.
funny. First of all. Second of all, if you want to find me, you can do this on our website. This is plec.de. You can find me also on LinkedIn, and also Jakob will link our YouTube channel and all of my contacts in the description below. And
Definitely.
I also want to add regarding the topics that we will be addressing in the next episodes. We will be digging deep into exciting topics, like what are the challenges that you face as a vendor. And I can tell you already, it's tough. It can be tough, but we know some ways around, and we know the tricks, and we are working on little helpful tools that make life easier. And we will be sharing golden nuggets of wisdom when it comes to working with Amazon. So stay
Definitely.
tuned, and I'm looking forward for the next episode. Thanks for
Yes,
having me,
thank you
Jacob.
guys. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and yeah, we'll
Take
see you in
care.
the next one.
Bye bye.